episode 26, technically part 1. Usually in the past few seasons, there's always been part 1 and part 2 for the season finale. And while it's technically said to be a season finale, there's no part 1 to this, but it may be a certain episode arc that we might be going through for season 6. We don't know what Disney's going to be giving us for the season finale, if they're going to do like separate episodes or labeling the episodes as part 1 and 2. We don't know for sure. So I'm just gonna count this as episode 24. It is the most recent one, and I wish there was an English version, but apparently there's none. And just as a little reminder that I am going to be trying to review this as much as I can. And yeah, also there's episode 18. I thought 18 was released, but apparently 18 just released. Unfortunately, none of the episodes previously were released in English, so we might have to wait for that a little longer. But here we go. Guess for like part 1, I guess. We start off the episode with Cloe basically just recording herself or live streaming, whatever the case is, on like TikTok, Instagram, whatever the social media is in the Miraculous world. Her main reason why she's actually doing this is to promote her new movie. Her new movie is going to be at least in production in Paris. That is why she's leaving London or Paris, France, and of course she's already there. Who is watching her, you may ask, in this scene? Well, to be honest, it's technically a random person, but there's an important person we need to know who's actually watching her. Kinda obvious, really. It's the new Hawkmoth. We all know it's Lila. She's gotta have a new disguise, of course. Duh. She has this jewelry box that she puts an Akuma in just to let it release later. She's going to be somewhere away, and we'll know soon where she actually goes at the end of the episode. A little spoilers, sure, but it is a review after all. I'm just giving you a heads up there. After the introduction, a lot of people saw the giant poster on the blimp just kind of floating around Paris, just as Cloe just advertised that, oh, she's gonna do the movie and stuff like that. Apparently, she already sent, at least her parents kind of send permits about, able to record or film, I should say. It's not social media, it's a movie. Just recording filming a movie. I don't know, YouTube on the brain, okay? And seems, if you like it or not, thus it looks like that as an influencer, she does have a lot of fans who kind of like her videos. What does this mean about these people? I mean, you do you, I guess. You decide. But yeah, so Chloe's here to film a movie with her family, as we'll see later. And of course, the rest of Marinette and her friends are just kind of doing some thinking as to why Chloe's here. Now, one of the newer characters, Aurora, if you don't remember her, she's the technically paraplegic. Aurora is basically one of the newer characters, I think. Or is it Sublime? Sublime. It's finally she gets another speaking role, and she has another speaking role, honestly, because I don't know. But like Sublime asks the other girls, why don't you guys like Chloe? Now Sublime knows about like at least her a little bit of history and all that stuff, but she doesn't understand the full scope of it compared to everybody else who kind of just doesn't want to say it. Rose steps in and just says that they bully all of them, in the past. We all kind of feed her, all that stuff. Sublime did mention acts like, what about the adults that didn't do? Did they do anything? Aya and some of the others say that the adults were afraid of her too, just because of the amount of power she has, and she was Namir's daughter back in the day. So there was nothing that people couldn't do, be it the adults or the kids, and that's kind of about it. Yeah, Sublime was just basically like the person who was asking these questions like a new viewer. Seems to say that I think Disney for season 6 was trying to get some new viewers into Miraculous, at least in season 6. So season 6 was technically a slight reboot, just to say. While everybody still believes that Chloe is still a bad person, Sabrina is the only one that has some hope for Chloe. While she does hate Chloe still and doesn't exactly trust her, being a new person and all, being her own, self-respecting person that she wants to be and she deserves to be. The thing is that deep down she misses Chloe, which is kind of obvious. She knows her for a long time since they were kids. She was always been there for her, even with all the mean stuff. She kind of hoped that there's some good in her, and of course she has proof. She has a letter from Chloe. Nobody really believes Sabrina, but Sabrina did use her as an example. However, the counter argument to that is while Sabrina was basically able to see the fault of her old ways when she was a bad person, Chloe never actually took the time to reflect. But Sabrina did give them a letter that Chloe supposedly made, but unfortunately they seem like it's a trap of some sort. Doesn't sound like Chloe at all. We cut back to Chloe, and it seems like she has multiple butlers this time. They're all called Joe, Joe or Joe something. I don't know. It's some French names, and I cannot really say them all because they all sound alike, which is Chloe's problem. And none of her butlers understand because apparently they all got the same name or similar names, and they kind of forgot who is who because he keeps changing their names because they somehow all look alike. I think that's like a few major problems. Also, all the butlers look like Failboat. It's kind of weird. If you don't know who Failboat is, search it up on YouTube. He's a pretty good YouTuber, not gonna lie. But Chloe here found this letter, which is kind of trash because it's from the fans. Unfortunately, she doesn't care about her fans. Duh. But then later, she found a box, which has the jewel inside. Unfortunately, she cannot open it. After seeing Chloe going in, Sabrina decided to actually go in and follow her. Marinette stopped her, but Sabrina insists. She talked to the bodyguard, but she was not able to get in. After the bodyguard said that Chloe has no friends, therefore, Sabrina saying that she's her best friend. Yeah, nah. But I think the butler kind of knows that Chloe doesn't have friends, huh? But then Marinette basically wants to help Sabrina by making an excuse that she can get in because she's part of the youth unit of City Hall. Unfortunately, yeah, but bodyguard says that Chloe and the others were not interested. Zoe, after seeing how kind of desperate these two were, reluctantly, she just came up and said that I'm Chloe's sister. I want to see her, and that's kind of about it. Now the bodyguards now letting the other butlers know, which unfortunately it also seems like the bodyguards have the exact same name problem, which is the thing. Chloe should do something better with that. We do see that the mother and apparently the brother of Chloe. So these two are basically here. The reason why it's technically their idea to do the filming. They want to make Chloe the number one influencer around the world. And to be honest, while the brother understands how because he's much more into the marketing of like famous people, so to say, and he owns a lot of companies that relates to like celebrities and all that stuff. While the mother doesn't understand all this mumble jumble of social media influencers, all that stuff, like, something like TikTokers or something like that. She's a bit old school. She's from Gabriel's time. She's at least proud that Chloe is serving a purpose in life. Still pretty harsh. Only seeing the value of her children because they're doing something good or something in the world, But why are they making a movie, you might say? Well, technically, Chloe has obviously just different motives. As for the brother, he wants to do something that just makes it a trend. And of course, the mother likes that. What's the trend? Being just utterly evil, which is kind of weird, but to be honest, this whole bourgeois family is kind of evil. Minus the ex-mayor. He's pretty good. And Zoe. With Chloe being just the hard brat that she is, just the annoying brat that she is, it seems like the mother is trying to control her, but unfortunately, it seems like Chloe is just acting like her mother just doesn't care anything about it, while her brother is just basically trying to make excuses for her, saying that this would still be good, let her actually put out her feelings there, because at the end of the day, it won't change our plans. It'll still be pretty good since Chloe kind of made herself a name already, being a jerk. Later on, while the bodyguard let them in, while Sabrina's kind of hoping that Chloe has changed, both Marinette and Zoe were pretty much just on guard the whole time. Of course, by that time, Chloe had set a trap for them. When they stepped on, well, after they talked and they stepped on the X, Chloe said to fire, but unfortunately, she didn't specify who exactly. Technically, she did, but the problem is because of the name. All the people with guns, net guns, I should say, the ones that fire nets, a net cannon. Okay, a net cannon. There are three of them. They all have them. One of them was about to shoot, but apparently none of them did because Chloe kind of confused their names, and even though these guys with cannons forgot which name was which because Chloe keep changing their names for like a while. But then, they shoot and miss completely because the girls already stepped out before Chloe said fire. Chloe should have been more smart, but then again, maybe the people who shooting the cannons should have been more smart because they should have saw that the girl stepped back like 2 feet. That's about it. That's kind of. I'm with Chloe there. I'm with Chloe here. They're ridiculous. Sabrina basically did talk to Chloe about like this letter, but Chloe doesn't remember sending her a letter because the last letter she actually ever wrote was to Santa when she was 8. There's some lore for you guys. But yeah, just pretty weird. Which, if you guys don't know, in Sabrina's episode in season 6, the one where she changes, I think it was the first or second episode that was related to her. The one where everybody accepted Sabrina as their actual friend. She has that whole character arc. At the very end of that episode, if you guys remember from like before the credits roll, but the thumbnail for the episode kind of already appeared, you saw that the new Hawkma was writing a letter, technically to Sabrina. We now know that where that letter came from. The new Hawkma, Lila, posing as Chloe, wrote the letter to Sabrina to give her some false hope. This is where that plan comes in from there now. So that's kind of a bit of foreshadowing. Now we see that letter come into play. Now the only thing left is episode 25 going to be with Max. Who's to say? After that outburst from Chloe, that she just said that Sabrina was ridiculous, Sabrina says thank you. We'll know why she said it later. But because of Sabrina being so happy, she kind of just panics and kind of just threatens them to make them look bad in public, like globally. But they're not that phased, as they know basically the truth for themselves. She's truly, really trying to have some power over them like she had before in the previous seasons. But after a while, Marinette kind of stops and just laughs. Just kind of laughs out loud. Now, to be honest, I don't know how it would be like in the English dub, but in this native dub, it's French. In this French dub, or at least the Portuguese dub, apparently a lot of people kind of like confused about these two, because apparently this is the French dub, so I am assuming this. Marinette in this language, when she laughs, is just so evil. It sounds so maniacal. It's not evil, it's like kind of evil, but like more maniacal rather than anything. Like she's laughing like the Joker. It's kind of kind of weird, to be honest. I think she's really losing it, guys. I think the fandom got to her. But the reason why she's laughing, as throughout her whole life, just because of Chloe, she was afraid of her. But seeing how desperate Chloe is for at least one final time, trying to just make the stakes even higher to humiliate them globally is just stupid in Marinette's opinion. Because the thing is that throughout this whole time being scared, Chloe's the one who's been scared the entire time. She doesn't like to actually not feel in control and all that stuff. Kind of typical, just your typical bully. But yeah, Chloe just being this ridiculous, going to this crazy lengths just to make a movie to, and changing the movie just to humiliate them is just sad. But yeah, she has a point. And we kind of already know Marinette and, of course, Zoe never really think that Chloe would ever change. Sad for a lot of people, I know, but it was a plot point in like near the end of season 5 where Cloe seems to break down and maybe have some regret. It doesn't seem like she actually has that anymore. It seems like maybe with the influence of her family, which is unfortunate. It seems like Cloe just went back to her old ways and tried to do the power grab of fear mongering. Now, Lila's plan originally, the new Hawkmoth of course, was to akumatize Sabrina, but since that didn't work because Sabrina's negative emotions just faded away all of a sudden, the only next person left is Cloe, just feeling not only fear, but also just utter, unadulterated rage. And Cloe does get akumatized. But the thing is that the Hawkmoth was never there. I didn't show you guys earlier because I don't have the screenshots for it, but Lila was not transformed the entire time, meaning that this was just a rogue Akuma. And Cloe, well, she kind of just gave herself the power because technically that's what the butterfly does. It just grants the power that the infectee wants at the end of the day. The only reason why the original Hawkmoth, the one that's Gabriel, the reason why he gave people powers was just because it was suggestion, or at least like, I give you the power of basically that he said possibly. Who knows? Who can say? Well, for all we know, Dread Queen. And now it's time to just be welcome to the Dreadzone. Every time they say Dreadzone, I just think of Garlic Jr. just saying the dead zone. It's kind of just almost like you cannot escape the Dreadzone. Listen, I feel like somebody just has a little bit too much fun with maybe either the Garlic Jr. saga of movies or maybe the Dragon Ball Z abridged. It's pretty funny. It's really funny. Like that's all I can hear, and it seems like the lines is something that Garlic Jr. would say. But yeah, this yellow dome bubble that's growing, nobody can escape. The dome cannot be destroyed. You're basically trapped in there forever. And of course, there's a special effect for it. Normal people, just normal civilians, will immediately feel fear. As for the transformed superheroes, the closer they are to her radius, they will feel the fear. So, being transformed into their hero forms basically makes them immune to at least the level 0 effect. As you can see, the closer to the rings they are, closer to Cloe, which is now Dread Queen, they fear the fear, basically to a point of crippling anxiety and just going to the fetus position. That's kind of about it and how it works. Also, yeah, I that previous screenshot, I just kind of put that there as like a, just a preview into the future a little bit. But yeah, in this scene right here, I feel like this is pretty good acting, at least for the dub, at least for this specific dub for Marinette. But the animation for it, the body language, that you can see Marinette was just completely terrified. And I think technically speaking, this is the most scared that she ever has been in the series. And to be honest, it's kind of been said that a lot of these characters feel the amount of fear that they have never felt in the series before. So, if anything, any fear they actually have later down the line in the series is not going to beat their level of fear in this episode, possibly. It's just to a point where it seems like it's just a cognito hazard. Well, Cat Noir basically trying to get in close and personal. He seems to be pretty fine at the outside circle. However, going near Cloe, Dread Queen here, I will say Cloe because it's easier to say. Dread Queen is basically the villain name, and it's pretty easy to say, which is pretty good. But yeah, the closer Cat Noir got, he just kind of backed down and cares and gets scared like a little pussy. Ladybug did save him, and while they were both fine when they were away from her, when Cloe just steps in, jumps at them, they were actually scared for their lives to a point where they cannot actually focus straight anymore, and they're just kind of trying to hide from each other, hide from each other's back. It's kind of funny, but also just like, yeah, putting the fear in their eyes. It's not really horror or anything remotely scary for that, but like, technically speaking, this kind of reminds me of some sort of SCP. The rest of the episode, at least for this, there's no real fighting because the most of the part, the Ladybug Captain Marvel were just kind of running for their lives, running away from Cloe. When they are far enough and Cloe decides to not chase them anymore, they return back to their normal states, as in their minds. They're not scared anymore, and thanks to their transformation, they're not able to be affected by the level 0 of fear of just the dome itself. So they know how her powers work. Ladybug used the Miraculous Ladybugs for Lucky Charm, and I just have to go back a bit. I like it how the animation shows her face pretty scared, even though technically she's not supposed to be scared. But who the hell wants to make this so bright? Regardless, after they formed the plan, they call in for the next two heroes, which is Zoe and Sabrina, being the dog and the bee Miraculous. Going up for Zoe first, she transforms, of course, and then we see her challenging Cloe because, it's kind of weird. Both of the previous bee users just kind of like, having this simple rivalry. It kind of just, if you really want to compare it, it's technically like Sonic trying to egg on Shadow, but if Shadow was like more broody and more assholey, I guess. I guess the only thing you could say instead of Shadow, it might just be the dynamic that you barely see or only see a snippet of between like Sonic and Surge from the IDW comics. It's kind of like that. While Zoe did try to have Cloe follow her, she realized it was technically a mistake because of the crippling fear she got later when Cloe got closer and closer to her. She kind of fell into a corner. Well, she landed in a corner. Kind of purposefully. She thought there was a corner so she can turn, but no, it's just a dead end. No for you, Zoe. Now, Cloe wants to take the Bee Miraculous as it was originally hers, so she proclaims. She tries to take it, but Ladybug basically caught it thanks to, of course, Sabrina's little ball. After Captain War destroys the aquantized object, Cloe reverted back to normal, and Zoe not feeling the fear anymore, thankfully. Miraculous Ladybugs, yada yada yada. Cloe what does Cloe think? She still complains as to why the hell did they always have to interfere with her plans and stuff like that. So yeah, it seems like Cloe just doesn't feel any regret from the previous actions, nor did she learn anything from her previous redemption arc. At this point, it's safe to say that any doubt that she has of herself has already been removed by the negative influence of her bad side of the family, which is kind of sad. So sorry for all you people who want Cloe to have a redemption. Technically speaking, I kind of wanted to. I don't know. After that, and of course the failed attempt for getting the magic charm because Cloe denied the magic charm. The new mayor, Miss Bouger, and of course Sabrina's dad, basically came to walk up and say that the contract was basically just, the contracts were there, but there was no permits. So it's right there, technically speaking. So the incorrect permits, so to speak. Maybe it was just kind of fake, and maybe someone didn't read the fine print earlier. But then again, I guess she read fine print again, already. So she kind of knows. And as power of the mayor, she basically kind of just told Cloe to fuck off and remove the people out of the school. If you guys didn't know, and I guess I didn't mention this earlier, the school was permanently closed until the movie was finished. But because they have no right to film the movie because of the permits that they gave, which gives no permission for Cloe to do it, if Cloe doesn't remove them, she's gonna get tickets, because tickets are a powerful thing, even in Paris. Of course, Cloe just angrily walked away. Ladybug does actually slip the magic charm into her purse without her looking, and they all look at her walking off. We do get to see Cloe in the giant golden private jet. You want to see the jet? Let me show you. Look at this thing. It wasn't this golden or shiny in season 5 or 4. I think it was season 5. It was not this shiny, but then again, it was dark. So like, yeah, the budget increase on this shit is pretty insane, and it just looks like a private sky yacht. It looks like a spaceship rather than anything. Chloe's just basically there, kind of scrolling, but she kind of just feels so angry that she has to leave. And of course, the rest of all her family, just her, the mother, and her brother, just kind of fly back to London because the plan failed. She did notice the magic charm, but told the butler to throw it away. And while the butler was kind of thinking about keeping the magic charm, her brother told him to basically give it to him, just asking if he could. So yeah, the butler gave it to him, and it seems like Chloe's brother has some ulterior motives of his own. Everybody back at school, and of course all of Marinette's friends, were basically cleaning up with Sabrina just looking at the pendant that Chloe gave her one last time, knowing that even after all of this and she hoped that she changed, Chloe didn't. So the only remaining gift, the one she cherished from Chloe the most, she just threw it away. While basically Zoe asks Sabrina why she say thank you to Chloe, Sabrina just wants to hear Chloe belittle her one last time. Not because it was nostalgic or anything that masochistic. It was mostly just because it was just the final thing that she needed so she can get rid of Chloe out of her heart for good. Any chances she wants from Chloe, now just all gone. And now she has a lot more room for something else in her heart now. I think this might be implied that maybe Sabrina and Zoe might be a couple? Who knows? Yeah, I think the shippers kind of already did that though. Marinette found the letter, but then she found a box that was just kind of poking out of the trash can. It was the same box that Chloe threw out, but the box and the mail and the letter that Sabrina has both have the same exact stamp. Now, to be honest, it is pretty far-fetched that they could be from the same person, but what if they were from the same person? I'm just kidding. To be honest, we had to do something simple, and these two stamps were never really known from Paris, so this technically implies, at least for Marinette, how she feels. Somebody left Chloe and Sabrina these things, and they're from the same person because these stamps are identical with the same identical handwriting. I guess that's also one other way, but it could be a coincidence. But while Marinette doesn't know, it's something they have to watch out for. I think I might use this as the thumbnail. Yeah, I think I'll try to use it as the thumbnail, although I feel like I'm going to give Sabrina just the Mike Wazowski treatment if I did. I feel so bad for that. We're in Shanghai, apparently. Guess who we see? Well, to be honest, this girl in this chair is actually Lila. That scumbag. But because we're in Shanghai, we actually get to see her again. It's been such a long time. It's good to see Faye again. I really like Faye. If you guys have not watched the Shanghai special or the Shanghai movie, you should. You should really see it. It's pretty decent, all things considered, and we get to see Uncle Wu again. Uncle Wang. Or Wu. Marinette's uncle. Don't remember? Come on, guys. He appeared in season 1. Either way, she was basically delivering a bowl of soup to Lila. Of course, Faye doesn't know who this person is. Maybe it was also just due to because of the disguise, but I really doubt that Lila actually ever met up with Faye in the past, so this is technically her first time seeing her. We already know that basically Lila is putting up a front, lying, as she always does, just saying that this is her first time coming to the restaurant, which is technically true. Maybe. But we all know the ulterior motive. She's basically here, most likely to have some leeway here. Most likely trying to find the same pendant that Gabriel Gress was trying to find all those 1 year ago. I guess. Timeline shenanigans out of the way. After Lila sees the picture that Faye has, which is basically with technically her uncle as well, with Adrian and Marinette in the picture, Lila knows now who Faye actually is. And let's just say part 2 is going to be pretty interesting. And that's basically about it for the episode. Overall, I do think that this is a pretty decent episode. Unfortunately, it does seem a tiny bit rushed in terms of the climax, as we never get to see actual fighting. It was mostly just dodging. But to be honest, with the aspect of the villain's powers and the way they solved it, I think it's actually a pretty good way of going around things with this episode, as just fighting Cloe was just never really the goal. The thing is, it was just basically let her feel like a sense of giving her to a corner and trapping herself, basically, right? It was kind of like that type of metaphor. At least that's what I think in my mind. But yeah, the main thing was just basically the Sabrina trying to hope that Cloe gets a good redemption for herself, but unfortunately she did not, which does actually give Sabrina the final straw to actually move on with her life and open her heart to maybe somebody else. I do think that maybe possibly that Sabrina might actually have some sort of crush on Chloe, but since she's now free, I think maybe she eyeing Zoe now. But to be honest, that's just kind of the shipper in me. So like, yeah, I don't know. Disney could do whatever. But I will not be surprised if Sabrina and Zoe will now be like a couple later. Who knows? As for the rest of the stuff, it seemed like Chloe and Zoe's, I guess, brother. But I'll just say Chloe's brother and mother here is actually pretty nice and pretty interesting. While of course we don't know more about the brother, so to speak. As for the mother, we do kind of know now that at the very least she's proud of her daughter doing something useful, and that is just being very influential. That's kind of about it, even though she doesn't understand it. It's kind of funny how like her mother has like the exact same design as her original in like the previous season. Yet everybody else from the original characters that we know and somewhat and love to some degree just look different. I think I'll give this episode maybe a 7 out of 10. Maybe 8 out of 10 on a good day, but it's just a pretty decent episode. It's not too action-packed, but we do get to see Chloe once more and get to see Chloe's biggest comeuppance ever. And basically just have her I cannot say the word humiliated once again and trying to be the bully that she's not anymore. It seems like her time in the spotlight just kind of fades away. One last thing I would say before the end of the episode, I do kind of like Chloe's redesign. I mean, I guess the previous design before was pretty much like your average rich girl, but she was pretty normal for the typical bully rich girl. Has to be the pretty one, of course. But I do think that this design that Disney gave her actually kind of fits her a bit more. It gives her a more evil side to it, but kind of makes her look more prettier than she is in reality in terms of her personality. I do think that the bigger contrast actually works right now. So yeah, let me know what you think. Oh yeah, we're going to go step back and go to see episode 18. Yeah, part 2 didn't come out yet. Hopefully it comes soon, which is episode 25. But we're going back to episode 18. Reason why? Apparently, I thought they already released it, but apparently they did not, because now it's a different language. And yeah, it's all about Aya. Alright,